I do much wonder at one man seeing how much another man is a fool when he dedicates his behaviors to love, will, after he hath laughed at such shallow follies in others, become the argument of his own scorn by falling in love in such a man as Claudio. I have known when there was no music with him but the drum and the fife, and now would he rather hear the tabor and pipe. I have known when he would have walked 10 mile afoot to see a good armor, and now will he lie 10 nights awake, carving the fashion of a new doublet. He was wont to speak plainly and to the purpose, like an honest man and a soldier. And now as he turned to orthography, his words are a very fantastical banquet, just so many strange dishes. May I be so converted and see with these eyes? I cannot tell. I think not. I will not be sworn, but love may transform me to an oyster. But I'll have my oath on it, till he have made an oyster of me. He shall never make me such a fool. One woman is fair, yet I am well. Another is wise, yet I am well. Another virtuous, yet I am well. But till all graces be in one woman shall never come in my grace. Rich she shall be, that's certain. Wise, or I'll none. Virtuous, or I'll never cheapen her. Fair, or I'll not look on her. Mild, or come not near me. Noble, or not for an angel. Of good discourse, an excellent musician. And her hair shall be of what color it please God. Took me enough. Welcome to the channel. Brian Jennings. This channel exists to discuss my relationship with Quentin Tarantino. I am the reason he canceled the movie Critic, and we now have a legendary clairvoyant connection which will transcend space and time and binds our souls together forever. This is a condition that he can always deny, right? That these are, and in terms of what he's done, of course, it's nothing to lie to him. That's so. It's incumbent upon me to talk about it, right? Because, right, I have no money. Right? I have nothing but my mind, right? And they've been stealing from it for a long time, and so now we're on here, and I'm giving it all away so that we can all be caught up. And every time anyone meets happenstance, right, Quentin Tarantino, we can all reserve the right to ask him, right, what are you doing to Brian Jennings right now? Right? So, we'll come back to that. The lines were, of course, very famous lines from Much Ado About Nothing. Benedict's Lamentations about Claudio getting married. Very classic poetry. If you recall, we have many things that we do on this channel. And one of them is that we're going through this book, Spherical Models. And so, today's contribution, the dodecahedron. Right? And so again, it's a spherical model, right? So if this wasn't paper, it would be something like that. You know, the paper kind of collapses on itself. Right, so you see that triangle, right? That's five pentagrams. Or it's where 3 pentagons meet. Right? So where 3 pentagons meet. So right, like this is a pentagon, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And then this, right here's a pentagon, 1, 2, 3, right? And then this is a pentagon. Right? And so each one of these pentagons is 10 triangles. This is the left hand, right hand, right here. These two. That's perfect. Right? Or it's right here. Sorry, it's these two. Left hand, right hand. Right? So there's 5 sides to the pentagon. Right? So there's 10 triangles. Right? It's 120 triangles. Right? So again, right? We construct these things, right? Because we posit that there is a quantum manifold, right? Of idealized archetypes, right? Called the hologram, right? That all of space has embedded within it a hologram. And within every cubic centimeter of that hologram, right, in terms of information, right, lies the potential to express all of manifested reality. Right? And so this hologram arranges itself in a particular way to where it has this structural, archetypal scaffolding for all of life, all of anything that could possibly be, right? And there are an infinite variety of this. And then here's the icosahedron, right? They look very similar, right? They're the duals of each other, right? That these are both inside of each other, right? Like here's the tetrahedron, right? And so what does this have to do with the movie Critic, right? What does this have to do with Quentin Tarantino, right? That if anyone has seen my video on remote viewing, right, then they would know that I posit that if you're looking for something, anything, right, and you meditate on these, right, that as these comprise the subatomic, right, subquantum structural scaffold, right, that it's the same structural archetype, right, that your psychic eye will, boom, is going to find what you're looking for faster, right, because all of these, right, are all embedded inside of each other in every cubic centimeter of space. You understand? Right? So, right? And just so that like we're clear, right? Like what I'll say, right, moving forward now, is that I was running hot yesterday. I'd been drinking, and I didn't say anything that wasn't true. But as far as like talking about, I know talking about it is good, for sure. But it seems outlandish, right? But if you watch that video, A Plea to the Pope, if you don't get it through that, then I got nothing to show. I got nothing to talk to you about, But it's all there. It's all there. And it's the most dangerous, ugly, fucking evil, right? And so when he like what was done to me is not like it was worse than what I discuss on that video, Plea to the Pope, but like that was the tactic, right? Right? Like it's like real black magic evil, which they stole from me, right? So, but I can't do that because he'll send people to kill me. That's right. Again, like I live in constant fear. He's going to send people to assassinate me. And until someone looks me in the eye, that's it. That's it. He didn't do this for me to, right? Right? And so we're talking about it now. right? Because, right, his evil hit a fever pitch, right? And I said, okay, we're talking about it. There's nothing, like I can't, major point, you'll go farther. It's, right? It's ugly, really, really ugly, like apex evil. I've been subjected to higher evil than anyone you know, 100%. Unless, there's like it's a, we're like, I'm up there, is what I'm saying, And it's frightening, 100%. I put that video on my YouTube channel because, right, you have to be the most fucking evil person in the world, right? And he did it, right? A bunch of times. I can't stress this enough. This is not, like, he's never gonna say, oh gosh, you got me. Like I went too far. Right? Seems like a nice guy. What made him stop? I guess it was my letters to Westboro Baptist. I guess it was my letters. I don't really know. But I was writing all of them saying this is bullshit. That you're just like letting this guy, right? And so what do I mean when I say that? I mean that last year when I was on the street in LA after Tribeca, which is all in my novel, Building a Coven, if you recall, right? We read all the way through the novel, right? That I wrote Fish, right? I wrote Salman Rushdie. I wrote David Berlinski, the Discovery Institute, in an effort for Quentin and myself to reconcile, not realizing, right, in my trust, right, that he was in the middle of a campaign to destroy my character and destroy my mind. That's the only thing that was occurring, and I didn't realize that because, I trusted him, but of course, ruthless, right? Show business is ruthless. Right? We're so goddamn cool, we think black magic evil's badass. Right? My point being that I chose the right side. Right? I wrote Fish. I wrote the Discovery Institute. Right? And then when he admitted to me that he has no daughter, right? When I turned it all on him, right? And said, oh well, how about this? And he said, no. This is not. Right? This is not, I didn't sign up for this. There's no daughter. Right? It's gone on long enough, I guess, is like where he was at in his head, right? And it was, So my point is that when he admitted he has no daughter, I wrote Fish again, right? And the Discovery Institute. And I said, this guy's fucking evil, right? I want to see everything that you received that involves me. Right? Neither of them said anything, right? And that tells you everything you need to know. Right? That they have something to hide about their relationship with me in relation to Quentin Tarantino. He wrote them a letter, right, that slanders me. Right? I find it really hard to believe that Fish, that the people that work for Fish, right, would get my letter. Right? My letters. Right, over this year, right? And if all they had to do, right, was show me the correspondences that involve me, right? That if the truth was just that I sent them 4 or 5 letters and I'm not well, they would have scanned those letters and said, thank you for your support. You get it? So he threw me under the bus, right? And so, right, around the same time is when I thought, right, that's when I thought of like, oh, what else is he prepared to do, right? And it all was laid threadbare that there's, right? I know all about the game, right? And so, right, it's just, I can't stress this enough. This is why this channel exists, right? He's pushed it to a level that is so ugly and evil and dangerous, right? There's just nothing good about it. He can always say, no, I don't know what he's talking about. He's not well in his mind, right? But at the same time, right, I'm telling all of you right now, right, he's done so much fucked up shit to me, right? And he knows the savage psychic authority I wield, right? Now, I have ethics, right? But do you understand what I'm saying right now? Right? That it behooves him to have someone watch me. Right? Not that I'm not a degenerate. That's not right. Like he has kids, and that's the real tragedy, right? That he don't care about those kids. He sinned against God in a proper way. Really, really nasty. Right? This is as nasty as it gets. Right? Courtesy from God the Father. Right? I'm not calling myself God, but I'm saying, right? There is this thing called wisdom, right? And so once you're wise, right, at the risk of arrogance, there it is, you see it. Heaven and hell, life and death. As far as this thing, right? And so in my earlier videos, you heard me talking about the celestial Iron Maiden. That's just one example. Okay, and there's nothing I can do about it. There's literally nothing I can do about it. It's really upsetting that I have to. I don't like having this window open. All because he refuses to talk to me, refuses to settle this. This is about my scene. Right? Right? This is about something. It's not about the movies anymore. Right? That's the point. Right? But now it's about something else. So up next in spherical models is the cube octahedron and the icosahedrodecahedron. Right. So, right, all of life is expressing a divinity. Right? The first movement in creation is the divine light of God. There is no personality to accept the pleas of your soul, which does me no favors, let me tell you. Right? Embedded within every cubic centimeter of space is a twofold manifold. The first of which is something like this. This is one example of it. It's an infinite complex nesting of polyhedra where both of these are inside of each other, right? That all is within all. So dense and perfect in their syncopation, right? In their union that they dissolve into seeming non-existence. Diffused within that seemingly dead space, it's inert space. It's a conscious field, an abstract intellectual quality. Right? Essentially, if we're talking about my worldview, and I'm thinking about my worldview right now, right? I would say that on the highest levels of that the movement, right, which is pressure, which collapses, right, doesn't have to have an intellect, actually, right? It's just movement. It's just pushing, right? Moving through right? And so, right, there's the structural facade, right? The skeleton, right? This is the sophisticated intellectual half of the formula, right? And then there's the pressure, right? The motion, the thing that squeezes it and makes it collapse, which engenders electric resistance as friction against itself, right? Until it can no longer remain in Earth space and erupt into incandescence as matter, right? So, I guess what I'm saying right now is that my understanding, like what I'm talking about here, right, really is discussing an emanation of the deity, right? Anyone who's familiar with the Kabbalah, right? That life is a progression of emanations from God. And so what I'm saying are Bina and Chakma, these are the first two, motion and structure, right? That through the communion of breathing, of pressure upon this static, archetypal scaffold, right? It can engender complex life, right? And so at least certain writers say that the two, which is wisdom and understanding, lead to Dath, which is intellection, right? So, right? Man is the end of evolution, if there is such a thing, right? The reason is because, okay, before I go any further, you can always say that life is purely accidental. That's fine, right? I would say it's quite lazy intellectually. Right? But what I'm saying is that you can always say that, right? But if life has a plan, if life is the unfolding of a divine plan, right? This has always been my philosophy. It's it's not a static thing. It's an outpouring, right? And it's an emanation from some divinity that there is a divinity that shapes our ends. Rough hew them how we will, right? So, all instances of clairvoyance, psychic phenomenon, remote viewing, right, is the mind of the adept, right? The mind of the student tapping into the non-local conscious field, right, which is the celestial zephyr, right? It's the conscious breath, right? And that's the same thing that keeps your heart beating, right? Keeps the brain, right, neurologically active, right? And through meditation, right, the medium, right? I wrote Quentin Tarantino a series of letters about playing the lead in the movie Critic. Quentin Tarantino is a powerful psychic clairvoyant, right? And when I didn't give him what he wanted at Tribeca, the Neurocon, he and the people closest to him entered into a campaign to compel me to madness. Right? At the new year, I turned it all on them. This is all the subject of my novel, Building a Coven. And within days, he admitted that he has no daughter. I'd been buried in bullshit, a bunch of psychic bullshit, right? All to overwhelm my mind, all to make me eat a bullet. Right? And now we're talking about it in a meaningful way, right? Because he's stolen my wisdom and descended into palpable black magic evil. Right? This is not. Can't stress this enough. Like, this is the most dangerous saga of our lives, right? That he has to live, right? Unless he's a dumbass, right? under the presumption that I despise him. Like the things that he's done, right? And since we're both excellent remote viewers, right? Can't stress that enough. Right? Very powerful clairvoyant. So am I. Right? That he has people that are gonna watch me all the time. Right? At con, right? Why do you think he did that at con? Right? Because I'm all the way in his fucking head. That's the point. Right? Right? And since he can't get me to blow my brains out, I thought, oh, what else will he do? And he went, oh yeah, let's do that. Yeah, Right? And has really crossed a line. I don't know if he cares or not, but he should. But that's really ugly. It's as evil as it gets. There's nothing. He's the most evil man in the world. 100%. 100%. Put me on a polygraph. Right? How's that? How's that? Just a crazy guy. Right? And so obviously it took me until just like a couple months ago. It took me until like June, July to realize his design he told everyone at William Morris Endeavor that I was insane. And he just, made his calculations, made his maneuvers, I have a great fire in me. And he manipulated me in a big way. I'll say the last two monologues I sent to William Morris Endeavor, that was all me for sure. That was because they had just gotten so bad. Right? And that was just the beginning. That ain't nothing. Right? 22 minutes, 2 takes, badass monologues. Right? Right? So it took me until very recently, right, to realize. Right. So now I get right, and that's partly why I started making these. Right? Was to show the public, right, that Quentin Tarantino is saying things about me, I'm sure of it. That he's running my name through the mud. And that's not to mention, right? Right? The ugliest black magic evil that I live in perpetual fear of. Right? He's tried to kill me. No bullshit. No bullshit. Oh gosh, I have no idea what he's talking about. No, this is what he does. He lies. He's filled with deception and cunning and guile. Right? And so now, right, it behooves me to talk about it because we're both up here. Right? Right? The strongest clairvoyant connection of all time. Right? Him and the people closest to him, right? I suspect he has 3 other people in it. Perhaps it's all just him. I acknowledge that. Right? But they've spent hundreds of hours remote viewing me. Right? And again, I could do it too, right? But they're fucking evil. They're actually evil. Right? So he's gonna hover over me, right? Like a sick fucking Dracula vampire. Right? I'm so fucking serious when I say this right now. This is not a fucking joke, that he's made this deal with the devil, right? And and he knows that I'm, right? That I'm a savage clairvoyant, right? That my mind operates on the highest level of understanding. That's how he got all these ideas, right? Of course, yes, I can destroy someone with my mind, right? And it don't happen like that, but right? It happens like that. Get it? Right? So if I want to remote view someone, right? Since we're talking shop, because I betray no master, right? And that's another thing I was thinking about when I made the beginning of this video, that it's not, I don't profane anything, I profane nothing. I have no order to betray. But You can just watch it on A Plea to the Pope. And if you don't get it, then you don't get it. But anyway, I'm just talking about it. But if I want to remote view someone, right? Here's Quentin's agent, Mike Simpson, William Morris Endeavor. Right? So, let's take a look here. What does it say? So, the circle is subdivided into 18. And so, around it, 3 times, it says a name of God, El Shaddai, right? Which is Aleph, Lamed, Shin, Resh, Yod, right? So, right? I take this thing, right? You can do the other side too. Living wild, right? I don't know what these phrases are, but this is supposed to be from the Shimham Farash. I don't think there is a triple head in the Shimham Farash. I just tried to put my own together however long ago. Right? I stared directly at this guy's eyes. Right? I drew all of this. Right? But this is how it's done. Right? Right? Until I go into a trance. Right? And of course, like booze or maybe Valium or all these things help. They all help. Right? Then you close your eyes in meditation. Right? And you find them. That's it. That's it. Now, can your average Joe Blow, right, get the same results that I get? No. I feel evil right now, just so that we're clear. Really awful, really ugly, right? I betray no master, right? Right. This is why he's salty, right? Because he thought that he had some sort of advantage over me, right? Right. So, right. Is that what Quentin does? Haven't been in his house, but I know he's got my headshot. Why do you think he can see me so good? You think it's perhaps because I have no pictures on the internet? It's just an intellectual consideration. I would say yes, because my face isn't deleted. But this is what he does. Right? But I'm going to make a model every day, cube octahedron tomorrow, hopefully. Dodecahedron, it came out really nice. And I'll probably start hanging them in the air. I suppose I should sing a song. Don't really know what else to say. Can't stress this enough. I live in constant fear. Constant fear. Right? This evil that he's put on me, right? It's bad enough. It's bad enough if he just revealed that the daughter was fake, and then it's like, oh, he's just an asshole and he's never gonna see me. That would be bad enough. Right? But this thing, right? A Plea to the Pope. Can't stress it enough. It's the ugliest evil anyone could possibly conceive, right? And now, right, Fish and the Discovery Institute, right, by their silence, right, by their continued refusal to show me the correspondences they received that involve me, right, I suspect they give him license to continue, because if I had something that he wrote that slandered me, right, then boom, I could get a lawyer. They'd say, okay, I'll take this case. No money required. right? And I don't want to sue him. This isn't about money. But I will, if, of course, if a lawyer says I want to take the case, I'm not going to say no, right? But I was trying to do that, right? And he was still evil, right? So this is about, right? This is about just talking about it, right? Setting the record straight, letting the world know, right? Right? I don't have to eat Quentin Tarantino's ass. Right? If this isn't about the movie, right? That's my point. Right? That if this was about the movie, right? He would have produced a non-disclosure agreement, said, there it is, you sign it, you go play Hamlet in Honolulu. LA ain't for you. And that would have been perfectly reasonable. I'm afraid right now, I'm afraid there's going to be bullets that come through this window, like he operates on this frequency of evil, of violence, in relation to me, right? That all of that violence in his movies comes from something dark inside of him, right? That if he, right? I acknowledge that Tribeca was my fault. That he set me up, he laid the world at my feet, right? And I didn't want to have to read in between the lines for that anymore. That was my right. That's my decision, right? And so he thought, right, that because I didn't give him what he wanted, that I don't know what the game is, right? And so he entered into this campaign to destroy my mind and failed miserably. And now it's crawled all the way into my mind, and we have this, right, really ugly, legendary psychic connection, right? But not just me and him. My novel is called, if you recall, Building a Coven, as in a coven of witches, right? So, right? Why the daughter, right? Why the sexual, right? Right? Pretty deep into the book, there's a passage where I'm talking about making Willow, his fake daughter, making her come with my mind. I said, but she doesn't need my help to do that. And she was like, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Right? So, right? Why do you think that is? Everything that emerged through that saga, right? Of me trusting Quentin, right? About the daughter. Perhaps it's all Quentin. I do acknowledge that. Right? But I don't think that's true. Right? Everything that emerges out of in this book, Building a Coven, right, stems from some psychological truth within them. That must be true. That must be true. Right? So when Willow is mocking Eliza, her name is Lisa, in the book, right, which again was all them, she wasn't involved at all. She called her the ugly duckling and called her a fat bitch and like all these things, and like that comes from something, right? And so, right, I suspect that Daniela had strong opinions about her sister when they were teenagers, right? That she thought she was the pretty one, or if it's not the other thing, but yeah, that's what it is, because she's swing, right? So lovely, right? But my point is that Willow was like, oh yeah, I want you to make me come with your mind, right? Which anyone can do. This isn't like, no, anyone can do it, but like it's a facility, And I said no, that's too weird, right? That they never got what they wanted. They wanted me to like put my dick in my hand. And they could go, oh, ha, 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 right? Pretty funny, They probably would have told me like right when I was about to come. That's funny. That's funny. Didn't get what you want, right? But my point is that she said that, right? Because that's what they're into. Right? I won't go on and on about it, but that's right. And that's how the novel begins, right? With hot wife, right, putting tantric sex magic on movie star, right? So I think that it's like with both of them, you know? And that's all I'll say about that for now. I don't really know what to say. I don't know what to play, pardon me. Pay me no attention as the night turns into day. Sometimes when I'm standing still, I still miss this place. What a fool I was. What a fool I'll be. What a fool I am. What a fool. Oh, 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 oh. Cool amber and mercury. Cool amber and mercury. You say the most hurtful things. Cool amber and mercury. Pay me no attention as the day turns into night. Sometimes when I'm standing still, I still feel alright. What a fool I was. What a fool I am. What a fool I'll be. What a fool. Oh, 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 oh. Cool amber and mercury. Cool amber and mercury. You say the most hurtful things. Cool amber and mercury. Pray for me, pray for Quentin. I'm gonna start putting everybody's email that's involved in the description of every video. Right? It's about talking about it. Right? See what's good in your life. Hold those dear to you close. Right? Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe, share. All the best.